What's up, everyone? Today we are going to be talking about Rise of the Resistance and boarding groups, because at the moment the only way to experience Rise of the Resistance is with that boarding group to get into the virtual line. It's the most popular attraction right now at Walt Disney World and Disneyland, and there's a very high demand to get on it. Every morning people are showing up to the parks very early, and I'm still seeing lots of questions about how to get on the attraction specifically, and a lot of people are stressed out too. And this video is going to help you with everything. This is your complete guide to Rise of the Resistance. I don't want you to be stressed out, because chances are, if you're coming on a vacation, that's to get away from stress in normal life and have fun. So I don't want you to be stressed on vacation with that boarding group. I'm going to make this as easy as possible. I've been fortunate enough to experience Rise of the Resistance 13 times now. So I've gotten boarding groups multiple times. I've done my research. I have a list of everything I'm going to tell you today. I'm going to share all my tips and tricks with you. And I highly suggest watching this video all the way through, because I guarantee you there's some tips and tricks in here that you haven't seen anywhere else yet. So yeah, that's why I was waiting to make this. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let's get into it. Alright, so like I just mentioned, at the moment the only way to experience the attraction is with a boarding group. There are no fast passes and there is no standby line. You can only get on with this boarding group.
Guests hoping to confront the First Order in Star Wars, Rise of the Resistance, should join the virtual queue through the My Disney Experience app or with the assistance of the guest experience team located throughout the park.
Before you can get that boarding group, you have to get to the park. So first things first, check the crowd calendars, and usually weekdays are less busy because on the weekends, Florida residents and pass holders come out, which make it more busy. Also, make sure to double check the park hours on the day that you are going, as recently Disney's been changing the park hours from 9 a.m. and 8 a.m. to 7 a.m., but that's also going to change soon as the park is scheduled to open at 9 a.m. There's always a chance that they could change that, so like I said, just double check because park hours are changing a lot. That brings me into my next point, as it's not fun getting up early. I know you want to sleep in, but on days that have the more operating hours, more guests are going to get on the ride. So if you want a higher chance of getting on the ride, statistically speaking, the days with the 7 a.m. openings are better because you're going to get more riders on the ride. The earlier openings are also better is because sometimes the ride will not open when the park opens. Keyword sometimes. Usually it opens right around when the park opens. Today, it opened at 7:15 and I was on the ride immediately. It's 11 o'clock right now and I've already been on twice for the day and we're home. So that just shows you, if it's having a great operating day, you'll get on easily. But the other day, the ride didn't open until 2 p.m. So if you want a higher chance of getting on the ride, go when the park opens earlier. You also have to allow time in for transportation. Now, with the Disney buses, Disney Skyliner, all that, I'm not exactly certain when they open, so make sure to check with your hotel. They'll tell you all those answers. But you could also take a Uber or Lyft if you don't want to worry about buses, Skyliner, or delays, because they get to go through the front entrance of Hollywood Studios, and it's basically like you're getting dropped off, which is a lot quicker. Also, if you are driving to Hollywood Studios in a car, you have to go through the main entrance toll booth, and you need to allow time for that as well, as sometimes on holiday weekends or just normal weekends, it'll back up there as well. So allow some time for the toll booth, driving in, parking, walking up, security, MagicBand, all that stuff. Just make sure you're in the park by opening so you can get an early boarding group. You do not need to get there at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., or 5 a.m. There is absolutely no benefit of getting to the park that early, but if you are staying at a Disney hotel, it's going to take a little bit longer because you cannot exactly know when a bus will get there and when a bus will get to the park. Plus, I only think the buses run about an hour before the park opens, but make sure to check with your hotel as they will give you more accurate details on that. But yeah, you don't need to get there crazy early. There's no benefit. Another thing you have to allow time for is the security checkpoint. If possible, don't bring bags because the guests without bags line moves very quickly. It's pretty much a slow walk at that point with the guests with no bags. All you have to do is hold your phone above your head, you get to go through. And once you get through security, go to the right side of the MagicBand tap points. I cannot stress this enough. But once you get through security, go to the right side of the MagicBand tap points. You'll get in the park quicker. Even if there's a big line to get into the park, still go to the right side because it's still quicker as there's more areas over there. It branches out better. So even if there's a long line, go to the right. If there's no line and you're just walking in the park, go to the right side. It's always quicker. So what I mean by the right side is once you come in here through security and you're trying to get into the park quickly, you're going to head down here to the right side, right under where it says Hollywood. You're going to walk right down here and you're going to stay to the right because everyone clumps up over here. You can even see right now. See how there's people here and there's no one over here? There's empty touch points right here. Empty, busy. And this is way worse in the morning, obviously. You can see they're telling people to go to the right because it's empty. And it's just like this in the morning. The right always funnels better, and it can help you get a better boarding group if you're coming right around 7. So remember earlier why I was saying there's no benefit to get there super early? Let's say you make it inside the park 30 minutes before the park opens. You cannot get a boarding group at that time. You have to wait until the published opening. So someone who walks into the park 30 minutes after you could get a earlier boarding group than you. There's really no point to get there early because you'll just be standing around with other people. Once the park officially opens, the boarding groups will go live, and then everyone goes onto their app at once and gets them at the same time. So there's really no point in getting there early because you'll just be standing around anyway, and someone who gets there later than you could get on earlier than you. And everyone in your party has to be inside the park to get a boarding group for Rise of the Resistance. So make sure all your tickets are linked, and make sure you're all inside the park by the time it opens. Also, to make sure you get the same boarding group with your family and friends, make sure you have all of your tickets linked through My Disney Experience. You can easily do this through the app, or I assume with the help of a guest experience team member or guest relations. I will have a link in the description down below about how to link tickets, but make sure you have everyone linked, so then when you go in to get the boarding group, you can get the same one. Alright, so there are a couple ways to get a boarding group, but I've seen the question, should I use Wi-Fi or should I use no Wi-Fi? I personally suggest not using Wi-Fi because with hundreds and possibly thousands of guests logging onto Disney's Wi-Fi once, it slows it down drastically. And seconds make differences here. Literally 10 seconds could be the difference between a normal group and a backup group. So every single time I've gotten a normal group, I have used no Wi-Fi. Plus, one of my buddies at Disneyland, he got an early group. He wasn't using Wi-Fi either. Today, I got group 14 and I was not using Wi-Fi. But if for some reason you really want to use Wi-Fi, you can download a speed testing app and then walk around the park, find the fastest Wi-Fi speed, and then go there. And if you're interested in going on any of the other attractions at Hollywood Studios, like Rock and Roller Coaster, Tower of Terror, Smuggler's Run, or anything in Toy Story Land, you can get closer to those areas, so once you get the boarding group, you can immediately head over there and get ahead of the crowd. Alright, so if you are waiting in the park before 7 o'clock, and you are interested in heading over to Toy Story Land, or Galaxy's Edge to go on Smuggler's Run, I suggest getting your boarding group in this area, so the second you get the group, you can walk back there and get on with a low wait time. Let's say you get a boarding group at the front of the park, then you have to walk all the way back here and people get ahead of you. So if you want to go over to Toy Story Land, Galaxy's Edge, Tower of Terror, Rock and Roller Coaster, Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster, you're going to want to wait back there and get your boarding group, head over there immediately. If you want to go to Toy Story Land, wait right here and then go over there. And if you want to go over to Galaxy's Edge, wait here and go over there. So you get ahead of people and you get your boarding group at the same time. Alright, so the first way you can get a boarding group for Rise of the Resistance is open your app before the park opens, then click on the Find Out More button, then click on My Status and refresh there. This morning I was able to get group 14 by doing that, but please note, our experiences might not be the same just because an app is a piece of technology and it's not always going to work the same. But in my experience this morning, I got group 14 by clicking on Find Out More, My Status, I was refreshing. When I was refreshing, I noticed the groups opened a minute early at 6:59, even though the park opened at 7. Then I added the people to my party and I got group 14. So that's number one way of doing it. The second way to get a boarding group is rather than clicking on My Status, click on the button directly to the right of My Status where it says Join Boarding Group, and that is another way to get a boarding group. The other day though, I had issues doing this method because you don't have that pull down refresh button doing it this way. My app did not realize that it was 7 o'clock and the groups were open. I had to close my app completely, and by the time I reopened it and got the group, I got a group 101. So I think that it is better using the My Status than refreshing there because it is a full refresh. But some of my friends have said it works better one way. Some of my friends have said it works better another way. Another thing about the boarding groups is there are guaranteed normal groups and backup groups. The guaranteed normal groups are basically Disney's like, all right, we feel confident that all these riders can get on our ride today. And if we have more time at the end of the day to call back more people, we'll call those backup groups. So the backup groups are basically you are not guaranteed to get on the ride. This is basically like, hey, if we have room for more people at the end of the day, we'll call you. The normal groups will likely fill up about a minute after the park opens, but around Christmas and New Year's, they were filling up in about 30 seconds because of how busy it was inside. The more people inside the park when the park opens, the quicker the groups will go. It just makes sense. So it's really important to get that normal group because if you don't get on for some reason, Disney will likely, keyword likely, give you a fast pass and park hopper ticket to come back. But if you get the backup group, they're still good because a lot of the time they do call backup groups. And a lot of the time the ride has great days. You get to come back later in the evening and go on as well. So it's good that they have the backup groups as well, because if they get through the normal ones, they just get more riders on. Also, after you get your boarding group, you do not need to stay in the park. So you can either go on other stuff at the park like I mentioned earlier, or you can take the Skyliner at Epcot. You don't have to stay in the park. You just have to make sure that once your boarding group is called, you're back by 2 hours after that. So, for example, let's say your boarding group was called at 1 p.m. Just make sure you're back by 3 p.m. But you can leave the park and go do other stuff. You just have to come back within 2 hours after your group is called. Now, even if you have Rider Swap or the Disability Access Service DAS Pass, you still need a boarding group because the DAS basically works the same as the virtual queue, as you aren't physically standing waiting in line. But once your boarding group is called, head to the entrance and let them know, hey, I need a Rider Swap pass, or hey, I have DAS, and DAS gets to go through the Fast Pass line, and Rider Swap, they will help you out there. So if you're wondering what the Disability Access Service, also known as DAS, is, it is a pass that you get from guest relations if you are not able to wait in line. So if anyone in your party is not able to stand in line or cannot wait in line for hours, head over to guest relations and they can help you out there. And then once you get your boarding group for Rise of the Resistance and your boarding group is called, let them know at the entrance and they'll help you out. The Rider Switch service is also available for Rise of the Resistance. It's kind of hard to explain, so I'll also have a link for that in the description down below. But basically, it's where you have adults who are waiting with people who are not tall enough or unable to ride, and then once they get off, they switch, so everyone is able to ride. And even if you have someone in your party who is unable to ride Rise of the Resistance and are planning on using the Rider Switch service, you still need the boarding group for Rise of the Resistance, and then once your boarding group is called, let them know at the entrance and they'll help you out there as well. Another thing you have to plan for throughout the day is downtime, because sometimes Kylo and the First Order don't like to cooperate with the Resistance, to say the least, and Kylo has some anger issues, but that ride reset does usually take about 45 minutes to an hour, and then they'll start letting more people back on the ride once it's back up. Now, if you have a paper fast pass from being evacuated off of Rise of the Resistance, you do not have to wait in the line again. You'll head to the red umbrellas you see on screen right now and say, hey, I have a paper pass, and they will let you go through the fast pass line, which usually has absolutely no wait, so you don't have to wait in the hour-long line again. You just go straight through fast pass. Alright everyone, that's going to do it for this Rise of the Resistance, everything you need to know and tips and tricks video. I hope when you're here on vacation, getting a boarding group, this helps you get a lower boarding group and make your day a lot easier and less stressful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section down below, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Also, if I think of any more tips and tricks that I didn't put in this video, they will be in the pinned comment, so make sure to check the pinned comment because I might add more stuff later on. If you found any of these tips and tricks useful, I would greatly appreciate it if you would drop a like on this video. And if you are new to the channel and are interested in more Disney Parks news and updates videos, you can click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss one. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next Disney video. Peace.